Welcome to Industrial Sage, a free weekly video podcast series all about digital marketing for industrial manufacturers. Hear interviews with your peers and find out how they're solving the same challenges that you might be facing in your own field. Coming to you from the Optimum Production Studio in Atlanta, Georgia, this is Industrial Sage.
Welcome to this episode of Industrial Sage. We're going to be talking about how to use video at trade shows. So I've got a couple tips on what you want to be thinking about if you're going to be doing this. And should you be doing this? Absolutely yes. So 4 things that you need to be thinking about. The first thing is, if you are going to be using video in your trade show booth, you need to be planning for that content that you're going to use ahead of time. So what you don't want to do is take, let's say you have a company video or a product video that you release through email or you have on a website and you want to just throw it up on screens at a trade show. You don't want to do that. And there's a couple reasons why. One, think about the trade show viewing experience, right? It's noisy, it's loud, and so the first thing that comes to mind is you aren't going to be able to hear what the heck somebody is saying there. So that's one really quick example. So think about this ahead of time strategically on what you want your video to say, how we're going to transmit that message, and how it's going to look on the screens. Other things you're going to want to look at is a lot of these trade show booths, you got a TV here, this is your regular 16:9 type TV, but a lot of these trade show booths, sometimes they have these different monitors or different screen sizes, and that really needs to be addressed ahead of time before you create content to make sure that it's really going to plug and play, right? Okay, so strategically think about that, how you're going to use that video content, what it's going to look like, and that will influence the design process. So the next thing is you're going to want to be really thinking, it's kind of like social media videos. We did a video on this where when you basically, in a trade show environment, it's really hard to hear. So any music that you might have or a voiceover that's talking about a product, you're not going to be able to hear it. I would not count on your viewer to be able to get that message through audio. I mean, you've all been to trade shows, you know how noisy it can get. So what you need to be able to do is make sure that visually you're able to transmit your message. Use that, you can do that through text, or that just by the moving images when you're watching that you are able to get that message. So that's very, very, very important that you do that. And again, it goes back to that first piece on strategically thinking about how you're going to use that video content, how we're going to get that message across. I can tell you firsthand that a big problem that a lot of people can run into is that they say, hey, we're going to do this product video or this company overview video, and it's going to be awesome, and we're going to use it in our trade show booth, and you think they're going to get the same results, and you're not. And this is one of those reasons why you're not going to get those results, so think about that. The other thing is make it really big and tall, okay? So you got to think about it. If you go to some of these trade shows, they're huge. You want to make sure that the monitors that you actually have is that they're really up, they're up high, so that if you're like way across the area, you can actually see that and you can get that message across. You definitely want it above eye level because you know how busy that can get. So if you've got all these other people, all these other heads looking at you, you don't want the screens to be right, here at eye level or lower. You want it to be up so that people can see it and they can get it there. Make sure that it's big. Using these big screens, there's all kinds of different ways of being able to do that. And to really sort of increase that viewability. Another thing you want to think about, and this kind of goes back to that text thing we were talking about at the beginning, is make sure that you can actually read that text. So you can't have really small stuff. You can't do a whole lot of text on there with these screens. You want to make sure that that they're viewable. So test all that. And make sure that influences your design process. Again, we go back to point number 1, strategically thinking about how to do that. And then the last piece is using a reliable video format. So how do you actually play back video when you're in a trade show? There's a couple different ways of being able to do that. One, a lot of if you're using a consumer grade type TV like this, you can take a USB thumb drive and play it back through there. Another thing you can do is you take a laptop and you can push it out through an HDMI in there, or worst case scenario, you can use something like a DVD player or a Blu-ray player. I'm not sure how many Blu-ray burners there are anymore. We haven't done that in a while, but that it's a good backup format. In any case, whatever format you do, I highly, highly, highly recommend you have several different backups and you try it ahead of time. So if you're going to do the USB thing, try it ahead of time. Make sure it's all good to go. You can see it. You don't have any playback issues, and have some backups with you. Maybe even have a DVD in your back pocket, just in the event on the day of something happens. One thing I highly recommend you don't do is basically stream a video from the internet. So if you've got a video on YouTube or something, you say, oh, we'll just play it through here on the TV, whatever. Don't do that. Again, you all know how unreliable networks can be when you're in a trade show environment, and that's really a liability that you don't want. So there you go. There you have it. Those are a couple tips on how to have successful deployment of video at your trade shows. Video is awesome. We know that you want to use them, so this is how you can really maximize the effectiveness of them. So again, thanks for watching this episode of Industrial Sage. If you have any questions, industrialsage.com/questions. We'd love to answer them for you. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm Danny Gonzalez, and this is Industrial Sage.